Muito bem, pessoal, composta aqui a nossa.
So our panel set here for debates. Let's talk about this key, um, uh, something that is key. It's very important you'll be able to talk about this. We have been talking about this for quite a while. We're at this rather strong moment for digitalization, VUCA and PANI. Yeah, many key factors, terminologies, rather challenging, something that has been changing. Exponential businesses, exponential digital, it's great reality. The great cases and great startups and traditional companies that are reinventing themselves and reorganizing themselves are placing this exponential mentality. That's what we want to talk about here today with you. So for the first round, I'll be starting here. We're from my right. We're doing a back and forth here. We'll talk about these three pillars: the technology, digitalization, and data availability. Uh, Reinaldo here in his talk to this first round. Reinaldo, uh, what is the importance of these three pillars in technology, digitalization, and data intelligence? And are they vertical? Do they go hand in hand? How do they converse with each other? Please welcome, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about these three pillars and what's the reality inside Veta and all of this. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Reinaldo Gil. I'm responsible for the sales area and a company focused in the improvement of customer engagement that has been growing exponentially based on these three pillars. Yeah. So to answer your question, Rodrigo, I think these are three pillars that have to always go hand in hand. Technology is key for any organization. In exponentially speaking, we are at Verint. We have been noticing a great shift in the market, a change that has come to stay, a problem that will aggravate even further. Engagement capacity by the clients. On the one hand, we have all the digital services, great search for self-services, and great expectations by the clients. And on the other hand, we all work in national, multinational organizations. Doesn't matter the budgetary limitations as well as resources, and as the time goes by, it has been intensified by the pandemic, and it's something that started to intensify during the pandemic, but it will only get worse as time goes by. But there's a big distance, a big gap between what the companies have to in order to meet their expectations based on users and the resources they have available to deliver for the customer experience. We call this gap for customer engagement, which is key to provide good service and have good relationship with your clients in multiple channels with a consistent journey. It is key for the success of any organization, especially considering exponential companies. So this tripod, in a very point of view, technology is key to fulfill this engagement gap from the clients. Data intelligence is key to be able to quickly detect the behavioral change in our clients and react to market changes and engagement and preferences by clients. Everything has to be going hand in hand, and that is key for the successful development of any company. And Reinaldo, you have a particularity here to be able to sell solution, meaning you attend your customer, and that in turn they service their clients. So you're dealing inside Verint to have this pillar integration, and you're feeling that on the clients as well. They're coming to you saying, Reinaldo, we have to have all of this done converging. Yeah, yeah. Our clients, our technologies are sold to our clients, as you mentioned, to meet their own clients, the success of the corporations which are our clients. We have been noticing, as I mentioned, it's a problem that tends to get worse as time goes by, and it's key for the survival of any company to be able to deal with those elevated expectations, this increase in demand for interactions. This customer journey starts in one channel, sometimes assisted by a bot, a virtual assistant, halfway through the service, it goes towards a human, it goes back to a bot. Sometimes there's a change in channel, so customer preferences that change along a journey that must be met. And we have been noticing this challenge that tends to grow. Our customers are very much concerned about this, and they have been adopting our technologies to try and fulfill this gap in terms of engagement towards their customers. So I'll be switching on to Bruno. Yeah, how's it going? And you have a nice contest to share. We usually listen about bank. We have an institution with the tradition of being a bit more traditional. Inside Banco Pan, how is it what is it like to deal with this availability and this digitalization and information? How did that get married, so to speak, with the financial bank reality? Just to quickly introduce, I'm a superintendent executive for Banco Pan. Just briefly talk about Banco Pan, very digital, strong bank inside investment. 20 million clients in the beginning. We had last year 10 million clients. We're going through an exponential growth. Open capital bank. We have 193 million with income in the first quarter. Not only we're concerned about the engagement with the customer, with our expertise and financing our population. We have the matter of result. Talking a little bit about the tripod, I'll talk about the sector itself. It's even more relevant. I was here in the talk when Juliana from Original, she talked about the customer experience, but the sector, banks as a whole, they have always been very technological and also always had a nature of provocation to be more digital recently, especially accelerated by fintechs. So we have half-techs and fintechs, and for a while now, inside this market that used to be dominated by 5 big banks, and we have a wide array of banks now that had a very interesting movement teasing the other banks as to how to have to work on the customer experience. You can open a bank account rather easily. You don't have to go to an agency. Back in the day, it was a differential to have an agency. Maybe the unique selling point is not to have an agency. You have a lot of visits, and you start working on this equation, and you start asking what the advantages are of having an agency. Yeah?
I believe that the modern and brick role also changed, but before it used to be something different. But now we should have another look on it. I've been working in this industry for 20 years now, but this mortar and brick branch issue is still not resolved in the banks. So sometimes people say that that is not our customer because that specific customer is a digital customer. And we also have the PIGs, which is a regulatory issue. And the Brazilian bank sector is a reference worldwide. And in the past, we have seconds when transactions can be done. And these PIGs will be expanded to other countries. And in the financial world, specifically for retail banks, which were our focus, that industry was very well advanced. But after pandemic, digitalization expanded to an entire Brazilian population for dealing with these needs. And these people were not served with bank services. And at Caixa, I talked to Regina, and I was told that we have a bunch of people at the bank wanting to learn how to deal with their cell phones. And digital technology is crucial now. Otherwise, we won't be able to operate a bank. But where we have to improve here as a sector, and we have to insist on that, is insisting on topics where we could improve the customer experience. But now, for instance, we do not have to go to the bank anymore. And people don't have to schedule a specific time in their agenda to have that visit to the bank. And it used to be this way. But we believe that we have a very important exercise in the sector, and we are involving in that. We are using more data, like the two pillars that I've just said, and this can also focus on customer experience, but not using so much time. But it's very important for us to talk about that tripod, and they are very important to be discussed, specifically related to financial companies. And the service is very relevant to the entire bank for products. And I invite every product developer to take part in meetings because it's a crucial piece in their business, because these people have to be aware of what is going on in the company, and we have to expand that to our company. But as a company, we have to improve in the use of data to improve customer quality, and this makes all the difference. Yes, no doubt, and I believe that it's valid for the entire tripod, which involves technology and digitalization for the purpose of improving customer experience, because it's easy for us to do that, but it's not the way. But we have to think in how we can improve that to improve that customer experience, because the challenge anyone can take, but the wisdom of knowing how to do that properly is the key. But now I want to learn from Reinaldo related to sorry, Jeremias. No, it's okay. My name is not Reinaldo, but Jeremias. But thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here among these panelists. We have a different context, a B2B context. And we began that journey in the end of 2018, where we remapped our values. And after D3 has been restructured, well, we have the merge of two great companies that merged in 2017, and then we have this Brazilian stock exchange. And I used to work at the customer experience area, but my professional history comes from technology. But now there's no way we can work otherwise, and this is one of the reasons why I'm working at the area where I am working now. I'm the customer experience head now at D3, and this technology is also under my own umbrella, because most companies don't have a specific IT department. We've reviewed our values to get closer to our customers in order for us to be able to hit our daily exercise and serve well our customers. We have to understand that we needed to have something organized to know what we were talking about to our customers and what our customers needed, and how we would coordinate the delivery, the times, and agility. And we didn't have to serve only, we have to surprise the customers. For instance, whenever we had to run something that our back office late at night is okay, but perhaps in the beginning of the next day when the market would be open, would that checklist be okay as well as opening positions would also be available? I mean, as sent by the bank. Otherwise, should I call the bank to make sure that we have everything fixed? But we have changed our mindset. Instead of sitting down and waiting for the service to come to us, now our greatest goal is to work on data intelligence and digital service so that we would surprise our customers. And one of our VPs told the best things possible for us to be 300 people taking care of us, but we would be involved in serving our customers 24/7. That means at all the time looking at our customers, studying their behaviors, and if we would spot any abnormality, we would call the customers and surprise our customers. So in order for us to get to our values, which is satisfaction, we should use technology heavily and understand our business. We have to understand our entire structure, and we do not call it call center, but we have this verticalized business unit, like issues, technology. We have analysts from every level, but we need to understand our business well so that we can capture customers and help and surprise our customers. And that's the challenge, but that is involving technology. And without studying data, we would not survive. You quoted something very interesting, related to items that could be anticipated. And I believe that if we merge data and technology, this would allow us to take previous decisions. Sometimes we have to be reactive related to the customer. It's not a criticism, but it's just our report. Well, my name is Rodrigo Tavares, and I lead a fintech digital portfolio company. And this is something that we face on a daily basis. So I know that something is taking place. I do have technology to take care of our customers, but why am I not being able to take care of that? Sometimes we get surprised by a certain problem because we do have the data in our system, but we're, for instance, implementing a solution where we study our customers' behavior. For instance, a fixed income market, for instance, the bank, let's suppose we have 1 million investments in CDB and 500,000 CPRs, for instance, and that is done on a daily basis by the bank. And we learn that model and keep monitoring, but whenever I get to the bank at 8 o'clock a.m., we see that we have millions of transactions done, but what is not working? And then we use the entire technology tools, but everything is in place. And if something goes wrong, we might call the bank back, and that might be due to something that we did not detect before. But we should understand our business, understand the behavior of our customers, that we can surprise them. And whenever we have the reaction uh, behavior where we are using specific senior analyst, perhaps that analyst could be helping us in a more proactive way, so that that could translate into a more direct digital services for the customer. So it's very interesting, Jeremias, to learn about that. And now let's move the word to Daniel. And please talk about your reality, how you're dealing with these pillars and how they would be integrated. So first of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's very, very important to be able to bring you a scenario of a company that is part of a larger environment. Our company is a fintech related to national capital distribution for power in Brazil. So we at the same time have a look at our captive market, where customers at a first moment could think, oh, it's not important having that customer experience, but this is not the way we think. But our company emerged in May 2020, right in the beginning of the pandemic, to fintech, fintech, if that is a word, in the sector. And we are thinking about the energy sector, which is regulated very different. But there we address the importance of having data. And the very third, as a company, I and my co-CEO are the founders of this company. We would also have a data head, but we are still not aware of what we are offering. But we know that data is important within this context. Yeah, it's an emblematic movement because it's very clear that this information layer has in the business. Yes, even for us to be able to develop our digital account and application and thinking about the entire structure. And therefore, we needed someone who helped us treat data and what the transformation that this data would go through along the journey. So we have 8.3 million customers in our energy distributor, and our work is to bring those customers into a digital journey de facto. And we also have other players in the sector where we are required to have branches. Well, this is something that is required from us. So I, as Voltz, have a branch, but I do not have a cost related to that branch, and that is a differential for us. And for us, it's important having these two channels, the physical and mortar, the digital and brick and mortar channels. We cannot think about digital only or a mortar and brick only approach, because when we think about people living right in the heart of Brazil and they would lack connection, for instance, and we have many cities around the world, sorry, around Brazil, and this is something that they need, an in-person service, because sometimes energy would not get into people, so but have to integrate that journey otherwise. And using data intelligence are is part of the pillars that made us emerge. And the key word for us is how we make this data go through this journey the best way possible. And it's very interesting at this approach. And I was told by someone from Energisa that you would be able to leverage a business very strongly, and that would be leveraging another business. And we are doing something very interesting, and that is emblematic. I mean, this movement that would be bringing people who would be architecturing data. It's the new oil that we have now. And I say tongue-in-cheek that the new oil is something scarce. Well, you use it, and this is not related to data. I mean, if you use data, data is not depleted. Perhaps the fuel of data is renewable all the time, and we should think about this parallel idea. And Voltz was created having that in mind. And the very first project was dates back to 2018. And sometimes people would leave their own cities and go to neighboring cities. And we have just 406 towns with branches. But for us, in big cities, who very easily can go to downtown or somewhere where we can find a branch of our company. But for many people, the opportunity of going to the bank makes some difference in their lives. So we created the company, first of all, as a digital company. But when we dived into the system, we noticed that it's just the tip of the iceberg, and that would include all the fintechization opportunity that we would have in our ecosystems. It's just something that would involve suppliers and concession areas and customers there are within my concessions. The ocean is all the opportunities of the customers who are not part of our group and other tiers that related to other systems, for instance, utility systems. So it's a sector class that you have just given us. Thank you for your comments. But now I will move on to Rodrigo. So feel free to say your thoughts. So thank you for the invitation, for having me here. It's very nice to be here and share our thoughts about different topics. I am the Kavak's general CEO. We are present in 7 countries. And Kavak buys and sells pre-owned cars. But what is interesting about it is that Kavak only exists based on these 3 pillars: digitalization, data, and technology. Just imagine that in a pre-owned car market, it's a very fragmented market. The biggest player in Brazil is not even 1% owner of the market share. So if we feel the customer's pains of buying and selling a pre-owned car, because we have insecurity, we have frauds involved, and when you want to do that at a global scale, at an exponential pace, it's impossible to do that without using technology, data, and digitalization. So Kavak was born with that pillar already structured. So the very first barrier that we faced with what was present in the market already was buying a car. So as we sell pre-owned car, I wouldn't have a supplier where I could order something from and would feed our stock with that item. So when we scale that, just imagine that Kavak buys thousands of cars every month. The very first barrier is how to price the cars. In order for us to buy thousands of cars, I would have perhaps a million leads for us to generate that huge volume of purchases. If that very first funnel wouldn't be digitalized, then it would be impossible for us to get there. And for that, we created an algorithm that would price at real time any car that our customers want to sell to Kavak. So we enter basic car information, and that AI prices that vehicle in real time, and what is the future price that I can sell the car for, or is the margin that the company needs, and what's the price that I can pay for that car. So in real time, we solved this first pain, which so far would work analogically in the market. So you got to the store, someone would have a look at your car, and based on subjective criteria would set the price for your car. And if you run through a street and you see what different stores would give you in terms of price, we have different uh, see different prices. But solving that very first barrier, that first point, we would be putting a business that used to be very analog and hard to scale into an exponential curve of growth. So now we use this algorithm to operate in 7 countries, not only in Latin America, but also in other countries. For instance, in Argentina, we have a high inflation and pricing changes every day. And the point is, if Kavak wouldn't have invested from day one in these 3 pillars, then it would it would be impossible for us to get to the moment where we are now. So the very first part where we are moving from is our stock, and then we have to sell that car back to the customer. So we send the cars to a repair center and get that car according to our parameters. And whenever repairs are necessary, the car goes through those repairs, and then they get into our stock. And then another part of the journey in our process is selling the car.
Which also has a series of challenges to how to we can scale this business model. So consumers would purchase their cars the same way for the past 50 years. You would visit a shop. We had the whole digitization of classifieds in which clients can find their cars in a more digitized manner, but there's still the final need to get to meet the car. This journey is a journey in which today we have a project and looking very carefully on how we'll have the next disruption on to change this experience of purchasing. It's a high ticket, yeah. It's not. It's not a cell phone cover. Yeah, there's this aspect. You have to have contact with it and feel whether it will meet your needs, yeah, for sure. But it's interesting to notice the proposal for value is to digitize and remove frictions, on how to purchase a car. This already takes place whenever a client comes and buy a product from Kavak. Yeah, you can buy a vehicle without leaving your home digitally. You can get to know the car, go through all the red tape and receive the car at your door on a truck, which is literally a gift box. And we have been surprised on the number of clients that decide to purchase a vehicle without looking at it, meaning there's a natural movement by the clients, a part of these clients, to adhere to a digitization movement. Pandemics has propelled us in that direction. So what we're looking at now is how to digitize this experience even further on whenever clients want to purchase a car. So it will go to this triple, the 3 pillars. It's impossible to get to this point without observing data, digitization of processes, and so on. I'm a little bit old school because my last purchase, I did a lot of things mostly online, but in the last mile, I had to go to a random dealership to see the car up close. But it's nice to see how this is changing and how we also have to change our mindset a little bit, because we had the experience to have such an experience which is rather hard. Combining these 3 pillars, this round is very clear. The combination and optimization of these 3 pillars, how we can make this growth of the businesses feasible. The exponentiality brings forth these new challenges rather quickly. But let me get ready for the challenge. No, you already have this facing of this challenge rather quickly. Yeah. Okay, we're passing. I will consolidate the questions we have here because they are of the same nature. Bringing, I don't know if it's a great hurdle here, but it's a hurdle I would like to pass on through you. Uh, the, the 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 tripod, yeah, the 3 stages. Of course, some of you mentioned this somehow. We face hurdles for them to happen, uh, both in technology, data, as well as digitization. So I believe uh, something we have to overcome is like the people, the human barrier. Both people in our teams working, thinking on how to develop that to another person who's a client, the factor of adoption, break a habit, yeah. So purchasing a car old school style. So I think you had the perfect hook here by Fernando. How do you feel those hurdles? How to overcome those barriers, those hurdles? The inside team, the talent. How can they be prepared to face those disruptions? And it brought a little bit of that spice there. I want you to talk a little bit about that, yeah, so we can head towards the wrap up. Indeed, we have lots of challenges on this journey. And looking internally, our collaborators, the biggest challenge we have is capacitated labor, meaning technologies evolve at a more quickly pace than we can graduate and capacitate professionals. So we have a labor gap. It's a reality all over the world. Latin America, for instance, the developers, yeah, to hire developers is not an easy task. Remote work makes it very hard. So you have a challenge to be able to gather correct talent to scale this as quickly as we want. This has a lot to do on how you hire and manage your team, but also how you create internal mechanisms to capacitate the team so they can face new challenges. So we look very much internally on how to create this journey for the collaborators so they walk towards this digitization journey. When it comes to tools, it's not a great challenge. We have a notion of availability of tools in the market, but from an internal point of view, the matter of people and a matter of mindset, yeah. Not every professional is used to or knows how to operate and work in this data culture for innovation. When we move towards the client, every time I usually joke that every time you want to innovate, you have to offer something different or something better. I see a lot of people confusing new with doing differently. Doing it differently will take you nowhere unless a different path, but it's not necessarily better. It has to be better than the past one. It has to be better than the status quo. If you manage to do it differently and better using technological platforms, the adoption from the consumer end will stop being an obstacle and it starts being a curve. And the better your solution is, the more you remove the pains from the client, the quicker this curve starts to take place. So it's more on how you create solutions from a customer-centric experience, so it is indeed good and better for the client, and the adoption will take place. It doesn't come cheap. There's a lot of marketing effort, an effort to bring the client to the base. There's no shortcut there, yeah. But there must be a solution different and better than the current one. Without that, no amount of money in marketing will scale it. You touched a very sensitive point, yeah. Innovation with experience. Our event here is how to put together the words experience and innovation together. So innovation is not only do it differently, it's only innovation once the client notices value. If there's no value noticed by the client, it's not innovation. That's why we have this an event putting two words together, experience and innovation. Let's pass it on to Danielle. Tell us a little bit about these challenges with the team, the construction of the team, but what challenges do you face with people and also with the client? There are some preconceived notions also, yeah. So such a different business, yeah. What is it going to be like? I'll try to get very specific things from us, yeah, like the difficulty to hire. Everybody has this difficulty. We'll be going over these subjects many times during the day. Imagine you having a company like a startup of 2 years that started with this agile mentality, remote first. with a company with 117 years of history, pioneers of generation and distribution on a very regulated market by the biggest agencies available, which is now. Imagine the cultural shock. Now we are one of the most innovative companies in the market, Voltz, in when it comes to energy. But you look at the innovations in terms of fintech, financial technology on itself. So there are still many cultural matters that must be faced. But the best thing of it all is it's not the fluidity that generated innovation. It's exactly this experience conflict that enabled us to create innovative things. The opportunity was there, but we just had to collect the right fruits, yeah, so to speak. We managed to find easier ways to do things that have already been consolidated. The adoption of pigs, for instance, we would spend 90 million a year just for the collection of 2.8.3 million uh, bank bills. At the cost of the billet would generate 90 cents to a real. Imagine us being able to do it through Pix on a cost that can reach close to zero. So let's just bill everything with QR code. Yeah, okay, we cannot. So we have to create mechanisms to create engagement of these clients so they can choose through a positive opt-in. So I want to be receiving that only through QR code. So it represents great gain. This is one of the works we have been doing. On the other hand, when you start inside a sector which is rather traditional, like distribution, you start to become very exposed to the possibility of fraud and attacks and many other risks. So a great concern of ours is how do I treat clients from different parts of the pyramid, from the simpler clients with not a lot of digital literacy, as well as a AAA client. All of them are important to us because these are clients I must attend, because when I attend a state as an energy distributor, I can't choose a client that is fit for a purchase of an online card. I have to choose everyone. I cannot choose. I have to encompass everyone. So we have to have a lot of great work to facilitate, have fluidity, but to also protect this client from frauds and social engineering related subjects. So there's talent as well as this interesting point. Another interesting point you touched on, Danielle, the barrier for adoption of technology, and you mentioning, okay, Pix and a QR code and so on. Once the client notices value in technology, there is an adoption. Yeah, notice the value there, because Pix is a great example. It's such a success because it solves the solution. It's a technology that indeed marked a simplified experience. That's why it has such strength. So we don't have to have this caution. Yeah, okay, it's going to be a great effort for the client to adopt it. If once they notice the value, it could be simple even. Not one, even for the ones that are not literal digitally, it will deliver a lot to me on the daily, and I saw a lot of value there. This was very strong in your talk there. We end up, you know, underestimating Brazilians. They have this ability to adopt simple things rather quickly. It surprised 0% of the people in our company, even the PICs, because back in 2018, we had the prevalence of WhatsApp in our public. So our first version of our bill is conversational because our client was somehow included digitally. So we say we have 3 steps: energy inclusion, digital, and financial inclusion. Where there is energy and they're able to have connection, digitization flows very quickly in Brazil in all social levels, through Pix to exchange WhatsApp messages. The very client thought that a software application was only WhatsApp and WhatsApp groups. This is very relevant because it shows that when there's Caixa, the client's adopted, and once the client learns, it's great ease for them. WhatsApp is a great example. RecargaPay was opening new channels, and in RecargaPay, We had WhatsApp, and the adoption was massive. And life is so much easier when you start thinking like customers. Because to invent something different and convince them to use something new, no, let's go to where they are, and we capitalize on that. Very good. Thank you for your comment. I'll pass it on to Jeremias now. This challenge inside B3, the law challenge professionally, Rodrigo touched on a very important point here. We wanted to do different, but indeed bringing value to the client. So it was a great challenge to us because B3, as they are B2B clients, and very frequent clients, it was a very bilateral relationship. People on the other end, João from the other end, together with José on this end of B3. And we wanted to have this. But when it was bad, it was very bad. And when it was good, it was very good because when they would do, so the expectation, one day we would service quickly, other cases 2 or 3 days. So, okay, we have to have a platform which helps us coordinate that, in which we have the adoption outside the company, at the clients, and the adoption inside the company. So we wanted to diversify a little bit the figure of the hero, because when we have a 6 analysts for financial liquidation, but only one the client is fond of, we generate queue with that analyst, and whoever is attended by them is rate 10, and those who aren't is 0. Okay, no, yeah, it's scalable. The market's growing, exactly. So we wanted to, we chose a platform to help us with that. And we had also this big question regarding adoption and this convincing work to show both our internal users as well as clients that once they use the platform, they will be able to identify better what clients want, solve their problems more quickly, provide a time expectation for their time solution, and to be able to check on it later, check their state, whether it would take more than 2 hours, let's say. So this is a great challenge when you come from such a traditional market such as ours to be able to use it. As you said, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we wanted a platform that would receive no matter where the channel came from. So if you're used to talking over WhatsApp, let's continue so. But going inside the platform, okay, telephone, email, portal web, all right. Let's not switch the channel, but let's make it easier and show them that their platform will bring value to them somehow, so they can have a more concise answer. And whenever they are not pleased, they can rate it. This is important to us because we have INPS satisfaction survey in all channels. So we had a lot of problems. Don't you have ombudsman? Or so clients are those in the market. We have a little bit of the subject that we don't have competitivity in all sectors. So some clients want to use a market structure. B3 offers that. But in no way can it leave us, okay, I'm the only infrastructure in the market. I don't have to collect INPS. I don't have to improve. Yeah. What for? Yeah, it's not like that. So this is all the construction. This example you brought for, Jeremias, everybody will want that attendance, those commercial executives. This happens in all companies because once we talk about exponential business, it's about scalability. Yeah, we can't have scalability. It goes very much in hand with customer experience, which is consistency. You have to have consistency in everything you do. So you're able to scale consistency. You spoke to me, Reinaldo, Daniel, and Bruno, and Jeremias, or Rodrigo. Well, it's the same delivery. Of course, each client has own, but you have to have consistency in what you do, and you have to have scalability. Thank you very much for the point. Banco Pan talked about the sector in the first question. Let's talk a little bit about Pan. I'll try to get hooks that you brought on. You mentioned WhatsApp. Banks are very much incentivized and worried on improving customer experience in the sector using data. So inside Pan, when it got to customer service, we had the channel. We did not have bottleneck towards humans, just in some products. Today we have to open the channel. Clients want this channel, and we can have huge retention and celebrate it when they don't know what's going on. Use data, see what's going on, read conversation and interactions, and we open the channel. Fortunately, we had this metric of Auxílio Brasil today, and many clients looking forward to consulting data for the proposal. They wanted financing and public in need of credit. So those were key for this experience. It was a well succeeded case. So we used flow of data, digitization. We were the pioneering bank to put the hiring of loans inside the application. We're the first bank collecting the security manner and customer experience. We implemented Face ID for consignated credit. So inside our home, many people using data, which is great. No decision inside the bank. It's amazing. This was a very nice shock. So there's no I think. Okay, let's go back, collect data, create our hypothesis, and discuss it with us. If we go to assumptions, we'll become into a group therapy. Yeah, that's all good. Another important point we clearly see happening in the professional area. A great leader of one of the banks said once, there's no business professional that doesn't understand technology. So everybody has ideas to improve customer experience with technology. But what's the hard side of the thing is what Rodrigo said. We have the need of professionals to develop lots of ideas. Very nice to see this happening and things taking place inside PA. And lastly, I wanted to briefly use a bit of the time. You placed a concept. I'll tease the audience, the curve for technology adoption. You can put it in Google later on. It came from the past century. It's a simple regular curve. First, it shows the innovators, then the early adopters with the curve growing, the initial, the mid, and late comers. It works very well to see the adoption of technology. You mentioned PIX, yeah? Is it applied for startups and consolidated companies also? Because you can sell that towards your product, or when you're releasing a product, why it hasn't taken off. So there's also always a group of people, the early adopters, that want the new. So we have queues of people to see the new iPhone model, with no idea of what's to come. The greatest challenge, we talked about the abyss there, to go from early adopters to the more conservative folk. So you cannot leave it and wait it too long until for the late users. Yeah? To use technology in favor of your product, you have to have very attentive to what is being built in the market, talk to a lot of people, do benchmark reference in other sectors to see how can I put more technology to be able to differentiate myself. So you don't have to be innovative because it is expensive, but I cannot be left to the right of this market. With this matter of curve, it's very interesting for everybody to observe it. There's no, everybody does it this way and this pace. And for us to understand what the curves are regarding our technology, our product for our client profile. So it's a chemistry we have been trying on the day-to-day, but it's important to have this transition and also optimize so you don't bring it too late, yeah? Excellent point.
So thank you for your comments, Reinaldo. We are almost running out of time, but afterwards we're just having a round of final comments. Oh, I'll try to get a few ideas here. At Verint, we work in three fronts. Digital first, which is number one, is all the experiences that we use to improve customer experience in digital channels, and enforcement gate when everything goes wrong, either through voice or text. The consumer will look for someone to talk to and fix their demand, and the customer experience management and solutions, so that we can measure the entire journey and the entire customer experience through all the service channels, and also consistency, which is one of the fronts that we have in this digital first portfolio as technology provider. We understand that consistency is very important, and the worst case scenario as consumers is accessing the web or the app and calling the service center and having different information for the same answer, for the same question, for the same demand, and that generates friction in the customer experience. And we have solutions for that to help offer consistency throughout the journey on at all the contact points related to customer experience. And I believe that that's key. And handling data even during the digitalization process, and we are global leaders for engagement, but technology itself only does not solve all the problems. We know that we have a huge shortage of technology professionals in the market, and I believe that the cloud came in to improve that a little bit. And using cloud-based technologies, that means that we still lack professionals that are having their mindset shift going on, and we should use their technology related knowledge and apply it to our company and look for efficiency. We do not have any customer experience targeted projects which would not try to offer a better customer experience and offer the customer value. Otherwise, if that would not offer any efficiency to the company, it's not sustainable if we did that otherwise. This is a mindset that's still lacking in most professions, and we noticed that, and we have technology available abundantly. We can provide people with that technology, but we've noticed that need for helping customers uh, implement those technologies so that they can generate value to customers. It's not only about retaining customers on the digital channels. We should provide them with ways for them to fix their problems. Otherwise, they would not be heading to a brick and mortar point. So this is the mindset that we still have to improve on, and we believe that we have many specialists, but we have to change their mindset so that is in line with our proposal and put the customers in the center of our decisions and developments. So we believe that this human layer is key, and we should have this exponential growth if we relate it to that. But now our final considerations. We are almost ran out of time. I'm start with Jeremias. Thank you very much for participating here and your final thoughts. So I thank you. I believe that we are in a world of possibilities and opportunities. We have technology opportunities and opportunities for us to understand our business, generate value, and that's good for everyone who are professionals like us. And this point is something that was very well covered by Reinaldo. We should explore add value addition and learn with the purpose of adding value, and therefore we would have many opportunities in the market and we would benefit from them. And now your final thoughts, Reinaldo. So thank you for being here. I thank you for having me here, and I will leave a message uh, slash provocation. When get into this technology innovative world, it's very sexy and the sky's the limit. But the provocation is, what is the return that this all brings us? Because we can do it all, but what will actually provide with the return as a value to the company and to the customer? So this is a key question for us before we begin any project. So we will should sleep with that. So now on the other end we have Reinaldo, and thank you, Reinaldo, for being with us. It's my pleasure for having for you're having me here, and we are all customers or potential customers for Verint, and it's very interesting to learn about your reality. And I believe that in order for us to close technology, well, it is available, and putting customers in the center is the key challenge based on the information and the abundance of information that we have. We should make the decisions to generate value and return to every investment that we make in investment companies. This should be the model of any project from any area related to innovation. So perfect, Reinaldo. So thank you. I will pass the floor on to Bruno for his farewell. So thank you again for having me here. It's a pleasure to be part of this rich panel. And again, I will leave this message. So Rodrigo made that provocation. And this is related to cost. It's very nice when you use these cost-effective technology, but the best way of being up to date and open to what is coming in is to talk to people who are not like you, and that means to people from other generations. I usually have lunch with our interns, and I check information with our nephews and sons because we are not prepared for that. And time is of essence. We are so immersed in our daily routines and activities which that we are not even open to what is coming new in the market. So we should be by talking to those people, be more open to what is coming in the future. And now, Daniel, your final thoughts. Okay, last but not least, well, what I was about to say was very close to what Bruno has just said. Well, we should leave our bubble, and he uh, addressed that very beautifully. And our one of our values is trying to see the world through our customers' eyes. And we talked about empathy and asking questions, but the key point here in the concept, which is very important to me, was the changing the level related to alterity. I mean, the otherness. I could talk to many different people, but I will not or never be that sort of customer that is having some pain in the process. But this is the reason why diversity is so important. We should promote it all. In our country, we would not tolerate diversity. We celebrate it because it has to do with our energies, a group from top to bottom in every region where we can think about in Brazil. But we are only able to bring solutions that meet the needs of those customers. If we not only see the world through the spectacles, but whenever we do that effectively. Otherwise, we would never be able to be in very remote areas in Brazil. And when we are able to understand those people's pains, we are able to bring the information that makes difference in their journey as a customer. So thinking about the otherness is very important for us again. So thank you, Daniel. So thank you everyone for having us here and for being here in our event. So a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you. And now we are heading to